ladies and gentlemen. The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment.
Here we go, guys. You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and on United States.fm network. This is probably one of the most interesting interviews that I ever had. And the reason why, first of all, the gentleman that I have today, it is a man who's who lives in the same town where I was born and grew up, Rome. So it's kind of exciting. But also because I have the opportunity through him, and you, listeners, you will have the opportunity through him to live and to experience, more important, to learn, if you want to say, and discover one of the mysteries that I really believe it's the cause of all this happening around us. We see where we are going. We see this global tyranny, it's happening. We see the creation of this global government. We see in America, and not just in America, also in Europe, our rights have been destroyed. Didn't happen by accident. All these phony wars, they are not happening by accident. And this is not just now. In the last few hundred years, there have been a secret group of people, call them elite. Some people call them the Illuminati. You can call them whatever you want, but they are powerful people that normally you will never see on the front pages of newspapers, or normally you will never hear on the radios, on the news. These people, they've been the controllers and the real architects of governments. And they've been planning our lifestyle and how we live, how we die, how we can work. This is not an accident. Now, I have a person that is being part of one of these secret societies, and also is a book author. He's been writing a lot about this, and he has a lot of information to share. And also, he has a lot of information about the Catholic Church that you know very well, guys. I used to be a Catholic. I was born in Rome. I was Catholic. And when I realized that I don't want to bow down to another king, especially when a man wants to bring himself between God and us, I believe that there is a problem. I believe that every man is corruptible. But more important, I would like to learn from this guest what he thinks about the Pope and the Catholic Church. His name is Leo Zagami from Rome, Italy. Leo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Nice to meet you, Leo. Hear me? Yes, see you perfectly. And, this is going to be fun for my listeners. We have two Italian guys. At least, you are Italian. I gave up my citizenship, but I still have my accent. Anyway, we got both accent from Rome, and we all both speaking English. So it's going to be kind of an interesting interview, okay?
Yes, I guess it's going to be quite funny for some people. Maybe they want to find it entertaining, to say the least.
Alberto Sordi, I don't know, guys, if you have it in Italy, America, but check it out. Alberto Sordi, you want to become an American. Anyway, listen, Leo, before we start, introduce yourself, because you got a very interesting background, and would like to ask you exactly to talk about your part of life where you were part of this almost secret world, it's a secret world of these secret societies, because this is something important. Not everybody has that type of experiences. Who is Leo Zagami? And more important, who was Leo Zagami?
Leo Zagami is a 45-year-old gentleman, I will say, born in Rome in 1970, and basically at the age of 23 I got initiated by Prince Alliata di Monreale into a branch of Freemasonry which was connected to a particular knighthood order and to the New World Order and the Vatican. And so I discovered at a very early age a reality behind the curtains of what we know as the official version of history, which was very different, of course. And that's because of my background. My grandfather was a Sicilian senator on my mother's side. Instead, I'm related to the Queen Mother of England, so to the Queen and to the present Queen. And of course, I'm also related to a lot of other nobility and to figures that have influenced the course of history, I guess. But for myself, I have made myself a name by coming out of the New World Order in 2006 with my exposés on the internet. Later on in 2008, I decided in the middle of 2008 that the internet was not the safest place to leave all this information, and was actually much better to write some proper books to bake all this info in books. And the first nation that gave me this possibility was Japan. Then later on in 2012, I started to publish also my books in Italy. And later on, I engaged into political activity, thanks also to the success of these books that brought me to participate to the elections of 2013, of course failing because I didn't enter parliament. But at the same time, later on, I participated to the Forks Revolution in Italy, and then I went back full time to writing because basically the Bilderberg Club and the European Union here is such a mafia that there is really no reason to engage into politics because it's a lost cause from the start. So now I'm again a full-time author, and I do that through also since last year CCC Publishing in San Francisco that has finally given me the possibility to publish my books in the English language. And that's what we are doing. We had Pope Francis, the last Pope, which was my first book, which has been a bestseller in the last few months in the US in various categories. And now we are about to release what is really this masterpiece, which I think will shock a lot of people and will create definitely some waves because of the information, the documentation that is in it. Is the Confessions of an Illuminati, Volume 1, which is already in pre-order. And I hope that by this time next year, I will be able to come to the US and present also the other book, which is Volume 2, which will come out then in the spring. I think that all this work that I'm doing with my books is a much different work from the one you are maybe used to get on the internet in regards to my persona, because it's a much more detailed work, it's a much more serious work when it comes down to the sources that have to be very carefully found, cited, meticulously put together in a way that, as you know, Gianluca, here in Italy we have a big problem that if you don't write correctly 100% everything, you might get in trouble with the law, because you can get sued very easily for writing even one wrong thing in Italy. There is no freedom of speech like in America. So, but I think that by having Italy as a training ground for my books, I became very meticulous in giving the correct information out and making sure that I am inattackable from outside, and especially when I attack people like the Vatican. I mean, my book, especially Volume 3, caused quite a stir when it came out, and it was one of those books that influenced very much the resignation of Ratzinger, because I brought out a whole reality of things that was yet to be known in Italy at that time. And then later on I also published what then it was another little booklet dedicated to the Pope, and that of course has created some problems for me in Italy. They fought back against me. They managed to convince some of my publishers to give up my work, and then I was basically sabotaged on TV. I'm not anymore on TV in Italy. I was regularly maybe hosted from this or this other TV station at the national level, and this doesn't happen anymore because they simply said Leo Zagami can't go on TV anymore. So I mean, I'm pretty much ostracized in Italy, but in the US I have found some wonderful people. Last year when I visited, I was in California. I spent a lot of time with Sean Stone, which is the son of Oliver Stone, and thanks to him I was able to meet a lot of people that gave me a hand in launching my project in the US, which is to make these things known and of course help the resistance towards the New World Order by doing so. And for doing this, in the last few months came in contact with Alex Jones of InfoWars, and together we have also made this excellent documentary in Rome, which is going very well, and which exposes the demonic side of the Vatican. And then we had some great information to deliver during the visit of the Pope. With Alex, I think we did probably in the US with InfoWars, we have been the only ones to really to attack the Pope this way, because everybody else seemed to have been in a kind of trance, induced by the media, induced by the mind control that is inflicted by the media, and so everybody had to say how nice was Pope Francis. So
exactly.
I mean, in this kind of scenario, InfoWars probably has been the only one to, at the top, to rebel and to really show that we know the truth about this Pope. We think that this Pope is against the fundamental principles that lay within the American society, against the principle of sovereignty, the principle of capitalism. We basically think that this Pope is a communist. And of course, this means that he's against any gun rights, he's against the freedom that people rightly have achieved in America since 1776, which have been a year of independence, especially from Europe, and not only England, but also Europe the whole, represented also by the Vatican, which has also always had their strong control over the whole of the aristocracy of Europe at that time in 1776. Of course, the Vatican played a fundamental role, and we see how the Americans rebelled to all this. They created their own nation. Of course, they participate at some levels within the realms of Freemasonry, within the Illuminati. There has been gradually also an infiltration that, of course, created later on more and more, gradually more problems in this idea of the US that is difficult to manifest without any interference from other countries, and of course from those people that we call at times the Illuminati for convenience. In reality, we should call the Illuminati network. This is not a wrong way of calling them. Let me tell you, the Illuminati, of course, of Adam Weishaupt, terminated pretty soon, so is wrong.
Leo, 1 second only. Let me stop you 1 second. I want to give the opportunity because many of my listeners know all this stuff. Many listeners say, "What the hell are you talking about?" First of all, number one thing, we know we are here on the air. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna and the special guest from Rome right now, Leo Zagami, book author. This gentleman is not just some writer. He's been living through his life, his family also. This, I say, experience to be part of this secret society. Now, before we go ahead, I would like to ask you one thing. Not everybody can become part, not everybody is asked to be part of this secret society. I think something has to do with the blood lines, right? I mean, how do you become part of this secret society? Somebody has to call you in. You cannot just say, "Can I apply for that position?" I mean, regular people like me, they wouldn't like me. I mean, how did you get in? Why did you get in?
I think that as an Italian, you understand what it means to be within a certain elite of certain families, especially if you are Sicilian, Sicilian. If the Sicilian family is, of course, made up of barons, of marquis, of princes, and of people from the nobility, and at the same time from politicians, from people who are influential in various walks of life, and at the same time in England, of course, and in Scotland, where the Lion family comes from. These are families, of course, that are part of a certain elite. So you are born within it. You can also make a very superficial choice in life, like many Pariolini. There is this area of Rome called Parioli, and we usually call them Pariolini, those upper class kids who are usually very spoiled, on cocaine all the time and wasting their life away. Now, you can make that kind of choice, or you can make a more responsible choice. Let's say say that when I came into contact with this reality at a very early age, I was probably amongst the very few to do such a choice at such an early age, because usually people prefer to waste their life before doing a lot of stupid things, and then maybe around in their 40s they realize what they have to do, and they get on board of these secret societies. But by then, a lot of things have happened, and you will not really get into the elite of these secret societies.
So you have a bloodline of nobility. I mean, say
a bloodline. They choose you. They say you're interested. If you want, you can, of course, do it. But you are also free to refuse if you want.
Of
and
course.
At that point, what you do,
So,
well, most of the people I know, like I said just earlier, go into all the excesses of life because they are refusing their own responsibility, and they just prefer to think that, they're just privileged in this world and they can do whatever they want. I accepted it in a responsible way because I believed, Gianluca, that I was doing at that moment of time, I was coming from a very anti-communist background. I had been in the military, I had been in the Air Force. In the Air Force, they actually contacted me and they started to prepare me to what I was supposed to do. They even tested me, bringing me one night in a house to steal some material from a guy from the Serbian Secret Service, and I had to break into his house at midnight. I mean, it wasn't like just, there were some tests before then saying, okay, come here at this time, and then you will be initiated. But before, there was a gradual period of about, probably, I never really talked about that, but it started in 1989 and it went on all the way into, let's say, 1993, when I was then initiated.
Wow. So it took you a long time just to be tested. Now, question is, I just studied these things. All I want to say is once you're part of this, it's difficult. It's not like a club, like, okay, the Kiwani Club or the Rotary Club. You can leave anytime you want. Technically, you took oath that they are pretty clear, they're pretty powerful, they're pretty strong. Also, they treat these odds with violence, even if you just talk about these things, I mean,
sure.
So this is like something like almost compared to the same type of ceremony.
But I don't say Luca, or I can call you Gianluca or Luca.
Yeah, Luca, it's fine.
Okay. I can say, Luca, that I was a pretty ruthless person myself in those circles. So
wow. Interesting.
What I did was to create a kind of fear in the enemy against the possibility of retaliation. And at the same time, I had my own lodges that I kept independent, and that in the end, even when they tried to infiltrate them and try to bring these people away from me, in the end, I managed to still retain my own circle of trustable individuals, which will help protect me until now. So, I mean, of course, I decided to go against the system, but I wasn't completely crazy. I mean, I knew that it was a risky thing, but of course, things are made with some very, it's like a game of chess,
Yeah.
So,
because the people must understand what you've done. I mean, I didn't read your books yet. By the way, I ordered them on Amazon. I can't wait to see them. I'm very excited. I got 2 books that they should come anytime here. One, of course, is the Confession of Illuminati. Is just a pre-order, so I don't know when it's coming. But the point is, just the fact that you write a book like Confessions of an Illuminati, and if you start to divulge informations that normally they're just for the inner circle of people who took an oath and they cannot reveal these things. And some of these oaths, I've been studying different books from Masonry, things like that. Technically, they can kill you. They say that they have the duty to kill you if you talk about these things to the people that are not part of the circle. So the fact that you're here, and more important, you wrote these books.
Zanna, but we're talking here about a mafia, basically.
Exactly. It's
mafia,
like the mafia
comes from the word masonry. Massia in Sicilian.
Yeah.
The S was transformed in F because the old S was written like an F. And then also in the Masonic book, there is a specific one for the instructions of the 30th degree that says also that this is actually, part of the tradition of Masonry. And of course, we have also the reference Mazzini autorizza furti, incendi, assassini, and the whole fact that really before Garibaldi, we can say that the mafia really didn't exist the way it is nowadays. And so it is a Masonic creation in the way it has then been developed. And when you are somebody at a level like I am at that Don level. My ancestors are Don. Behind me I have Don Giovanni Labruto. Don. You know what a Don is in Sicily?
Don, like in the movie The Godfather,
So there's nothing else you have to ask me.
Exactly. Wow, this is very interesting. I didn't know this part. Now, question is, what is their goal? I mean, I know that there are different levels of the part of this organization, and some people think they're doing something just for personal gain. Some other people, they think they can just do this for prestige or whatever. But at the end of the day, the top of the level of the Illuminati or this secret organization.
It's if we want to really make it simple, because I mean, of course, a lot of what I talk in my books is very specific, is very complicated, it needs a lot of study. But if we were at the bar, me and you, having a coffee, I would prefer to talk in this way because it would be more direct. So I will tell you, dear Zanna, these people are from the secret services of half of this planet, actually of the whole of this planet. They are, some of them, very ruthless, but not because they're criminals, but simply because if you are with a license to kill, you can kill. Okay? This is how it works.
Wow.
So I would say that the whole perception of reality is different for these people than for the majority of people, okay? Like, for example, the perception of having a person killed is different because a normal person will say, oh, Jesus, I killed that person, and then the police arrives, and then I will get arrested, and then this, and then that. Instead, in this kind of circles of people, I mean, it's so ruthless and so cold. It's like, hey, do you want him whacked? Is he giving you a hard time? Should we make him? Okay, fine. Get him out of the way.
It's like a day at the office. I mean, it's a regular day. They're so normal for them, But this is, of course, the arm, the arm.
And of course, also there is the thing that on the top there is the rituals. There is, of course, the occult power elite, and then there is, of course, at that point, a contact with a level which is in the invisible world, the extra dimensional level. In that case, you have to really be knowledgeable because you are dealing with some very serious forces. Now, if you think that these forces don't exist, it's okay. You just live in your own reality. You have never took the red pill. You have taken the blue one. You keep on going. But if you take the red pill and you want to understand what is in that extra dimensional reality, and if you want to deal with these forces, these forces, they are not only in the hands of some hocus pocus witch doctor. There is also people from this kind of environments which are quite scientific with these forces in the way they adopt them, they use them, they respect them, and at the same time they have a very ruthless attitude when it comes down, because maybe they are really evil, some of them have really given into power, terrestrial power, and that terrestrial power offers them more and more riches, and they get more and more corrupt. So of course there is a lot of evil in all this. And at one point I just simply decided that this evil was intolerable, even if it could have made me a multi-billionaire, instead of being at the levels I'm now, which is really scraping the floor compared to that, because publishing books is not a big deal compared to the business we could have done in Monte Carlo 10 years ago or any time, So I think that the sacrifice that was made is right. It makes me sleep better at night. It makes me think I'm a better person, and also I can help others understand this different reality. The fact that these people have threatened me after, of course they are threatened. They have attempted many different things against, but I was able, thanks to some very trusted individuals, to get these people to actually counteract their attacks. I make you just an example. And this is an example that is going to shock many Americans.
Wow, go ahead.
And it's a scoop for your radio if you want.
Yeah, please. I love that. Go ahead.
There was a guy that was involved in the Monte Carlo Lodge that was the head of the International Rotary Club division in New York, a guy called Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri. Okay? He's one of the heads of the Sons of Italo-Americans in the US, the big association, for Italo-Americans. Sons of it, they have lodges all over the US. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri is probably one of the main reasons why I went out of the Monte Carlo Lodge, when he didn't act on something that I was really eager to understand better, which was what was really going on in the Bohemian Grove, in the Skull and Bones, in certain secret societies in the US, which I really started to perceive as a danger to the whole network of the Illuminati. Okay? So what happened was this. Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri didn't accept this, and actually there was a conflict that I described in volume 2 of my book. But after this conflict, he, of course, got me kicked out of in a way, of the Monte Carlo Lodge. There was, not kicked out. He put me on trial. There was a trial, but I didn't even attend the trial. I sent some other people to attend it for me. But in any case, because of course it could have been even dangerous physically. You never know.
Yeah.
In any case, here we're talking about Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri, who was a P2 member.
Yes.
P2 member registered in the ones they actually got a Castillon Fibocchi, so officially.
Yes.
Who then became from Italian and American, worked with the NSA and the CIA on certain operations, and I was also involved. Okay?
Wow.
Fine. But at one point, what happened was this with Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri. He got to do things that I dislike. First of all, he didn't take care of his son. His son was a police guy, very nice guy, but he had a weakness, got into drugs, became an heroin addict, and was about to die. He knew that, and he let him die. So I never forgive that. And I said, Giorgio, listen, it's not a question of respect if you let your son die, because I'm here in charge. I was a superior of Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri in the Monte Carlo Lodge, so I gave him orders, even if he's an older guy.
Wow.
Because he's a commander. He was trained at the Academy of Livorno of the Navy. He's a good military guy, but I used to give him a hard time, and plus we used to collaborate in matters of counterintelligence and anti-terrorism. I wrote even his speak for the anti-terrorist summit in Malta in 2006. So I was pretty much before I came out. Just before I came out, I still collaborated with him for important matters.
Wow.
But in any case, Giorgio Balestrieri, there was something wrong in him. He has started to be too close to some 'ndrangheta families from Gioia Tauro. Okay? One in particular, which is called the Cosca de Demolé. Okay?
Yes.
And basically, they deal with weapons, they deal with drugs in Gioia Tauro, they deal with a lot of shit, and they deal also with the Chinese who bring in a lot of counterfeit stuff and things through Gioia Tauro. So I said to the other guys in the lodge, this guy is starting to become, because he said, I'm doing this for the CIA, to be in contact with the 'ndrangheta families is my duty because I'm working for Peter Sellers, blah, 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 in Washington. Wow. I said, it seems to me that you are actually doing business on the side here, that you are going a little bit out of the line, okay? That you are crossing the line in between legality and illegality. And a guy like you, who is, I repeat, president of the Rotary Club of New York, the international division, not New York, in the United Nations, the most important Rotary Club in the world, should be a respectable individual. Instead, he was not being very respectable. He was involved also in an exchange of weapons with the Hezbollah at Gioia Tauro. And there was some stuff that at one point, when he went against me in 2000, it was 2006, this war started between me and him. It started to escalate because when I went public, I went on the Greg Zismansky show on JCN network or blah, blah, blah. The whole thing with the GNC network, the Genesis network, the one, of course, Alex's network. And I started to make this story public. Things that got even more ugly between me and him. There was an attempt between some members of the Monte Carlo Lodge to bring me back to Livorno in the end of 2007 and try to have a mediation, no?
Yeah.
But I didn't accept this because I wanted to really bring out of the Monte Carlo Lodge my order, which I still have, which I am the Grand Master, which is the Ordo Illuminatorum Universalis. So what happened was this. Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri, at that point, we, with the Italian police and the Italian intelligence, understood that he had really crossed the line into the illegality. Okay? Mm-hmm. So they started an operation called Operation Maestro that was already going on, was an ongoing operation against the 'Ndrangheta in Gioia Tauro and against the Cosca of the Mole. Mm-hmm. And they basically arrested 26, because the 27th was supposed to be Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri. But what happened was this. He had two passports, Italian one and American one, okay?
Okay.
Italian one, he was called Giorgio Balestrieri. He made an American one where it was called Giorgio H. Ugo Balestrieri. Okay. He used that to get out of Italy, and basically through Lebanon, he went then back into the US, and he had an international, warrant again. I mean, the police was searching for, how you say, an international
warrant,
a warrant against him. And the news in Italy has said, these people, but there is one guy missing, but they didn't really say who he was, because of course the Italians didn't want to draw too much attention on this person, because he had a lot to say and he was working with the Italian government until a minute before, no?
Yes.
He had worked with the Italian government, Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri especially. He was very close to Cossiga for a long time, but he also had been working because of the ambassador from San Marino, a very important Freemason, who gave him this cross of Michelangelo, which he basically sold to the Italians and then gave him a fake one.
Wow. Well, listen.
So he kept the real one. When he was arrested, he escaped with the real one. No, he actually he pretended to escape with the real one, but in the meantime, he had hidden it in San Marino. What happened later on is this, that this demonstrates this story. Giorgio Ugo Balestrieri was fought. The story was followed. I managed, at least with the alternative media, to denounce what was happening, and we built up the pressure so much that this year Balestrieri was arrested in Italy, and he was brought to Re Bibbia. Wow. And of course, in May, because I have access to the police, the penitentiary police is my friend, I have access to their thing, and I could check out if he was still in prison. Of course, they let him go to his house in house arrest. But it is a success that demonstrates what I said 10 years ago when I left the Monte Carlo Lodge. This guy is a criminal, and he had to be arrested.
Wow,
so,
let me say something. This is so important. No, Leo, sorry to interrupt you. Guys, while Leo was talking about this, I was verifying all this information I was doing from mainstream media and different Googling. You can do it.
Yeah, it's all mainstream media.
No, this is official, serious. This is serious stuff. This is serious stuff. Not only you can get sued or for libellos or whatever. In Italy, it's so easy. All you have to say that you offend somebody. There is no First Amendment. You can get sued and arrested too. By the way, for defamation and whatever. But the point is, you can get killed so easy. These are powerful people. These are people that normally we never really hear it. But I tell you, we're talking about secret worlds of very well connected, the most powerful people in the media, in the police, in the political system. And this guy that we were just talking now, this is the real guy. It's not just some phantomas out there. So I'm telling you, I'm pretty shocked about the fact that you are completely part of this, and that you're still here, by the way, talking about it, honestly. I'm really am. Now, I'd like to give the simple...
I will say this,
Yeah.
just to, close up the fact that I'm still here. Well, I must say that, of course, it was God's will that I'm still here, because without God's help, definitely I would not have gone through some of the things that I had to. It wasn't easy, eh?
Yeah, no, I understand. I
They have
understand.
done, but since then they accused me of espionage, they arrested me, they tortured me, they did all kinds of things.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. At least I would like to give, because you're talking things that I understand. I've been studying. Of course, I'm not an expert like you, but I can catch up. There are a lot of people out there that say, but maybe they're driving the car. So what are they talking about? What is this Illuminati? What is this secret society? I would like to give you as a student, you're my, tutor here. What I would like to give to my listeners, like the easy explanation, and correct me when I'm wrong, please, okay? The bottom line is that it's been since many, many centuries. I mean, the Illuminati world, started that in the 1776 in Germany. We know that. But then there are secret society even before that.
Okay. There, stop.
Please,
it started thousands of years ago in Atlantis.
Exactly.
It passed through Egypt. 1776, very sharp Illuminati is only a specific emanation.
Perfect.
And it didn't last much. It was very influential because for the first time, Bishop devised a system which wasn't based on the occult side, but on actually the power extraction and how taking power and how infiltrating other secret societies. So it was basically a very pragmatic system, but a very effective one that then was later used by other secret societies, which we call part of the Illuminati network.
Very good. And this is exactly what I'm glad you to say that, because guys, the Illuminati, it's something that this secret society that they've been controlling governments and the world, it's something very ancient. It is not just from 1776, but right. We have this new form that now, pragmatically, as you said, they've been trying to infiltrate governments. Now, that was just the part that we know. There is so much that we don't know. But there are different secret societies out there that is not like just the name Illuminati. It could be the Skull and Bones, like we know very well in the United States, many people like, the Bushes, or, we have Dick Cheney, and we have other politicians like Kerry, former Senator Kerry, they are part of it. Then there are different other groups like, the Bilderbergs. There are different type of organization that could be others, like for example, the Masons. The Masons have been infiltrated, and there were letters from George Washington. For people who does not believe, if you do not believe, George Washington wrote letters in his correspondence that said that we've been infiltrated, because Masonry before was somehow different, or at least it wasn't still infiltrated in America by this group. What is their goal at the end? To control humanity, or also, as you said, there is a different level, like a spiritual level, to serve as a dark force. Is Lucifer their final goal, to serve Lucifer? Question. According to the book that I read from,
I would say to serve Satan, because Lucifer is quite mild compared to serving Satan.
Wow, so they're two different, exactly, they're two different things.
There is also a hierarchy of demons that they are serving, and Lucifer plays a little bit of a double game here. Mm-hmm. He's not always on the side of Satan, and can at times betray him. While instead, Satanist is Satanist. I mean, a Satanist is totally and completely devoted to evil and doesn't even enjoy the prerogative that they might be also, the possibility of engaging in good. He's just devoted to evil. And these people, because of their love for matter, for a materialistic reality, have corrupted, of course, the Freemasons. They have corrupted many other secret societies. But the Church of Rome in all this has a lot of say, because all of this was followed during the centuries by the Jesuits, who methodically infiltrated these secret societies, and the whole thing in turn came up to two power players in this structure, which are a little bit the two power players of the time of Jesus 2,000 years ago. On one side, the emperor, the Empire of Rome, on the other, the Jews. I mean, and then there was Jesus who was sent on the cross. I mean, there is not really any difference nowadays. There is, instead of the Empire of Rome, the Vatican. Yeah. And the Jesuits represent this. Another thing that maybe people don't know, but it would be interesting to say is that within the Vatican, the Pope is called, and this was written by a priest called Marinelli, who wrote that excellent book signed by Millenari, Via col Vento in Vaticano, saying that the Pope is called the Pharaoh within the Vatican walls. So that's his real name, the Pharaoh, like in ancient Egypt.
Wow. This is interesting. I didn't know that. At least this is so important, guys, because you think maybe this is just some hocus pocus. Is not. This is why things are happening in our reality. You know, we are just at the bottom of the pyramids, according to their beliefs, and they're like architects. They are like the great architects that they try to set the rules and the directions where humanity is going. And correct me if I'm wrong always. The point is, you know, we are going towards global tyranny. If to make it simple, what's happening now, it is not just happening in America, it's happening everywhere around the world. We are becoming a new prison without cages. There are no bars, but we are living a new digital and virtual jail where our rights, they're being completely destroyed, and they will become more and more. And now everything happening to us, from the food we eat, the air we can breathe, and of course the school education system that is some sort of a reprogramming the minds of our youth. And more important, the human rights, individual rights that we're supposed to have as a human being, and now, of course, as an Americans, that's been destroyed mathematically, systematically, and it's been planned. Now, how do they work? They work at different levels. They have, of course, the enforcers, as you were saying, these different top brass military or secret services that they can pretty much, decide if you live or die, and there is license to kill, as you were saying. So they are the enforcers. That's how they operate in this dimension. Then there are, of course, correct me if I'm wrong always, these top echelons of politicians. To control a nation, you don't need to control 100 million people. All you need to do is control maybe a few dozens of high-level politicians. And can you verify that almost every politician in key positions, like presidents or like first ministers, they are part of this network?
They're part of this network simply because they are blackmailable, so they are used like everybody else. I mean, they are not at the top of it and the ultimate players. There is people like Kissinger, maybe, who is a power player for real and was also a politician, but not everybody is Kissinger. But you have people like, of course, Rockefeller, the various Rothschild, people from the banking community, the Warburg family, and other families that have much more power than these politicians. They are just puppets. Exactly. I mean, there is weapon dealers or even more weapon makers that have more power at a worldwide level. Yeah. So, of course, the power structure is made up also of old aristocracy, royalty, especially the English royalty is still a very important part of all this, but any kind of royalty from all over the world. They created then a sort of Masonic structure that was not so clearly Masonic, but it is in a way. I mean, of course, people don't wear the aprons or the whole show, but the United Nations is an emanation of of Freemasonry, the way it's been constructed, crafted, and then, of course, then is served to you in a way that this is the New World Order crafted by Freemasonry. There might be a good side to it, but unfortunately then there is the prevailing bad side because these powerful lobbies, which include also the church, of course, as we said, the Vatican, and of course the Zionist lobby, but then we have other players, but these are the main ones who are really powerful. Then you have, of course, China. China has been for 500 years collaborating with the Jesuits, so they have a long history also. But they are, let's say, if we had to say who are the three main players at the moment, I would say China for sure is one of them. And then you have the Zionists and the Vatican. Wow. In all this, then we have a little bit of contrast on the side from the Orthodox Church. But Putin is more or less playing the game because he has made a great impression, and he's been working closely with the Zionist lobby lately with some meetings with the rabbis, and he constructed this big mosque in Moscow. Of course, Putin has a different view of the New World Order. So now here, let's say this, that with Putin and Obama, we see the two different views of the New World Order taking place. It's not that one is the New World Order, the other one isn't. Yeah. It's just two different visions of the New World Order. So one wants to do it the one way, the other one wants to do it the other way. What can I say? I mean, of course, I prefer the Putin way. Why? Because it is the way of the man. I'm a man, and I'm happy to be a man, and I like to be a man. I mean, and Putin is 100% a man in what he does. He defends a church, which is the Orthodox Church, that doesn't compromise like the Vatican. The Vatican has compromised because being infiltrated, being manipulated by the Jesuits and by also the occult Masonic and Theosophical lobby, they are basically becoming a new age church.
Yeah, it's a new age. The goal is also this global government to have a global one religion. And that's what the Pope is being pretty much advocating. And, and I say something, I don't care if you're Catholic, I don't care if you're Muslim. This is not a show about religion. It's a show about freedom of religion. You can do whatever you want. The only thing I say, though, be sure that you know what you're doing. Because if you think you're serving Christ and you're going after following the orders, because after all, let's not forget, the Catholic Church is a theocracy. I mean, people understand that, maybe don't know, but the Pope is not just somebody dressed in white acting like a Pope. No, technically it's the king. It's a theocracy. It's a government. And that's one of the reasons why I could not be part anymore. I refuse to bow down to any king. But more important, this man that now is professing himself that the Catholic Church always said, correct me if I'm wrong, the Pope is infallible. He doesn't make mistake. And more important, is the spokesperson for God. So when the Pope speaks, it's like God is speaking, according if you believe in him. This man now is serving an agenda that is not for Christ. And just think about it. The speech at the United Nations, he never mentioned the word Christ, but just to almost put him down when said Christ fell on the cross. I mean,
yeah, during his own visit, Jesus has been marginalized, and actually in Congress he gave instead the scene to Moses, because Moses is this prophet common to all three religions, to all three Abrahamic faiths, and it was much more acceptable, and he wanted to really be in this way following his one world religion implementation by talking only about Moses, and that was okay, because the moment he says Moses, then the Muslim couldn't attack him because they recognize Moses. The same thing with the Jews couldn't attack them because, of course, Moses is their prophet. And so basically, this was the whole, it was in front of our eyes, really, the delegitimization of Christ, and then the fact that they let in Madison Square Garden Mass, the first reading was then given to that guy who is a homosexual guy. Nothing against homosexual, but this guy is an homosexual activist.
Yeah.
And to actually make him read the opening lecture in front of the Pope is completely out of. It's just like a church giving to everything that was prophesied against it, and it's in a way the church is fulfilling its own negative prophecies that were given by its own saints, even and visionaries during the course of the last 2 centuries, because they said over and over again that this will happen. How Padre Pio, the man with the stigmata, opposed very much Freemasonry, and had his own guy, this priest, who he made him infiltrate the Vatican in order to discover where this Freemasonry was positioned within the Vatican, and this happened not so long ago, but it was since 1950s really that the Vatican was corrupted fully, because before still the Vatican was a Catholic reality. You could have liked it, you could have not liked it, okay?
Yes, exactly.
The Jesuits were doing the thing they always did, being Jesuits, but it was probably the fact that the Jesuits came back into the Vatican after being kicked out that then motivate them to create some alliances that were never done before, like the one in the 1950s with Israel and with the Freemasonry that arrived in the Vatican with various lodges, and of course the whole of the church was then it's irreparable, the damage that was done.
Leo, the time is going fast. I need to ask you some questions first. You wrote a book, Pope Francis, the Last Pope, ? available on Amazon. I invite everybody to buy so you can verify. You say something very powerful things here, the connection with the Jesuits, with the Masonry and secret society. I mean, you must have some source that you can verify, and that's why I can't wait to read the book. But the question is, you think this Pope is really the last Pope?
The last Pope of Catholicism, yes, because Catholic religion, renouncing to the cross, renouncing to Jesus, and embracing the one world religion will not be anymore the church we know. So he's the last Pope. After this, the church will be something different from what we know these days. We are going towards a one world religion very fast, at a very fast pace. So you understand that the figure of the Pope will be negative if it will be on top of other religion, like, he's bringing himself down, because like he did from the beginning of his installation when he was elected in 2013, he called himself bishop, not pope.
Wow.
Okay, so he is basically making himself voluntarily less and less a threat to the other Christian churches that then embrace him more and more. That's why now he has managed there where other popes have failed, like Ratzinger, who was much more conservative, to gain terrain and bring back to the church even the most evangelical or far-out faction. The Jesuits for hundreds of years have been infiltrating every single Christian faction or every single sect, Satanist or anything. So they know exactly, scientifically, how to do this. And their idea is in the end to constitute a one world religion, but they can't, put on top of everybody the Pope like the supreme divine being. So the divinity of the Pope itself has been diminished by making Ratzinger resign and putting, while still Ratzinger is still living, we still have another Pope, but he's not there any longer. And now we have this Jesuit. And this Jesuit is basically gradually transforming the church in something different. So he is the last Pope. That's it. And also there is a lot of prophecies that I talk about in my book, Pope Francis the Last Pope, on CCC Publishing, that you can find also at Barnes and Noble, as well as Amazon. Because in Pope Francis the Last Pope, I bring to the table, all the various prophecies, both the recognized ones and the not recognized ones. And I must say, Gianluca, that we are really going towards an incredible time in history, because these prophecies are literally materializing in front of our eyes.
Yes.
And it's incredible. So to be living in this day and age is quite something extraordinary.
Yeah, I would like to say something. For all the listeners, say, okay, what do we do? First of all, this is my opinion, okay? Knowledge is power. At least we must know what's going on. Otherwise, if we don't know the system, we'd never have a chance to fix it. But there is also a point, as you said, these are prophecies, okay? There are something maybe we cannot do. But as a human being, as a free human being, or at least I'm trying to be free, one thing I want to try to do, I will try everything, because regardless, even just talking about this, exposing this reality, I think we have the duty, the obligation to our fellow humans to at least do our part. Sometimes silent, not sometimes, always we know silent is consent. And maybe we may not win this battle in this dimension. But at the end of the day, I believe we will be judged in another dimension. And the fact that now here we stand, you doing your job, try to inform us, try to give us this sort of information, and other people try to expose it and fight at different levels. We got to do everything we can to expose them and defeat it. Even if we fail, even if the prophecy, if for a moment we will fail, the point is at the end of the day, we will still win. Because at least we try to do everything we could. That's what I would like to say. And for practical purposes, at the end of the day, one thing we should do, every man that were running for office, we know very well every politician can be part of this scheme. The elite uses governments, uses politicians for their sort of a master plan. They are the lower levels, as you said. Politicians, they're just like an upper management. They are not the owners. But we need to start to talk straight to them. Know that we know this game, that we expose them. That would be the first thing. This is not a conspiracy. This is reality. And that's what I would like to say. If people don't believe me, I think they should at least listen, and I will play if I can later, this speech of JFK, President Kennedy, about secret societies. That's not a conspiracy. I'm sure you're familiar with that speech about President Kennedy about the dangers of secret society, correct?
Sure. I mean, it was done just before he died.
Exactly. So that's the reality. Now, time is getting short. I want to say one more question, then I want to let you know whatever you want to say. First of all, how many levels that you know are in the Masonry that we are aware to know? How many levels we got there on Masons? From 1 to what, 33 or more?
Well, that is not really the important thing, to tell you the truth, because Freemasonry has various rites. The basic thing is the order that is common to everybody. So you have 3 degrees, which brings you to the mastership, so you become a master mason. Okay. And then there is various kind of rites. There is the Scottish, the ancient accepted Scottish rite that has 33 degrees, but there is also the rites of Memphis and Mizraim that go up to 90 and 95 and 97 and so on. These kind of rites are not recognized by regular Freemasonry in the US, but they are recognized by regular Freemasonry, for example, in Russia, which has constituted since 2010 or 2011, I think, sovereign sanctuary of the Egyptian rites in the new era of regularizing even a rite which in America is being forbidden by the CIA because they practice it in the secret of their irregular lodges. So there is one thing to say, that from Freemasonry, most of the elite of the Illuminati gets dragged into other sects and other secret societies that are much more powerful. Those are the ones which we commonly refer as to the Illuminati, not strictly Freemasonry. Maybe the only Illuminati part of Freemasonry that we can refer to as being Illuminati in Freemasonry is the occult Freemasonry.
Got it.
Occult Freemasonry is the Egyptian rites, some high-level Scottish rite that have been very much into the occult also, but then you have Martinist order, you have the Ordo Temporientis, you have many others, and they are part of a very intricate realm. Most of them have a kind of connection with each other at one point or the other. So once you are in one, you kind of realize a little bit better how the network is constituted. From outside, it's very difficult. That's why I invite you to study my book, Confessions, Volume 1.
Yes.
Because that book in particular, I include a document called Sheet 51, which is a topology of the secret society and the way each one operates in then infiltrating each other, operating, with the bigger ones, the smaller ones, the religious ones, the non-religious ones. All of this has never really been explained to people out there. That's why I would like people to go and get this book as soon as they can, because it will open to them a new reality, Gianluca.
Perfect. So guys, please, if you want to learn about this, we have the opportunity. Go to Amazon or anywhere you can. You can buy your books, Confessions of an Illuminati by Leo Zagami. I will post also a link on my website. And why I'm doing this, because I really think it's important to understand who is behind all this. And we have today the opportunity from an insider to learn all this. Leo Zagami, I really appreciate you, and I really, I'm honored to talk to you. And you have a lot of courage. I tell you, things like that, they are not a game, guys. This is not a movie. This is real. Leo, thank you very much. You have 30 seconds. You can say whatever you want. Go ahead.
30 seconds, I can say whatever we want. Well, that's a good thing. I would like people to read my books that are available for the first time in English by CCC Publishing in San Francisco, this courageous publisher that finally is bringing out my books in the US. The first one was Pope Francis the Last Pope ? The other one is Confessions of the Illuminati, Volume 1, all the truth about the New World Order. And then, of course, we will have Volume 2 to make you realize what's going to happen from here to 2020. And so I'm trying to give you an insight behind the curtains of history. I hope that you appreciate that, and I thank you very much for your hospitality, Luca, in your show, Mr. Zanna, and I want to say bye-bye to all the listeners, and thank you again for having me here.
Hopefully I see you in Rome one of these days. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Guys, don't go
Thank
away.
you.
You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.fm.